There we go. So, I'm here to present a Milestone Award. My mail program thinks otherwise. It's all excited. Tonight's milestone is unusual as it's one of the rare instances in which it will be awarded to a couple. Let's think of him as the entertainer and the two of them as the easy winners. They were born in the same hospital, one in 1960 and the other in 1962. At the age of 14, his mother and sister dragged one of our recipients to a square dance class. Told he didn't have to keep doing it, but he did have to try. Oh, come on. What did you do? There we go. He stuck with the lessons until he broke his arm. He returned to the class next year, which is when our other recipient enters the scene. This would be 1975. They became partners for several years and then an item in 1978. They continued to dance in the teen club until it dissolved. Jumping ahead, our recipients were married in Japan in 1988 by the Japanese square dancers with kimonos and everything. Their actual marriage was back in the States in 1989. They have never lived far from where they grew up and have several hobbies outside our dance activity. Fortunate to live in a climate where things grow. Their whole backyard is devoted to 40 chickens, several ducks, growing 15 different fruits, 15 different vegetables, many different herbs. They have recently become beekeepers. And their 2016 harvests brought in over 100 pounds of honey. Our recipients enjoy round dancing and contra dancing, but they especially enjoy swing dancing. This would be the East Coast or jitterbug style of swing dancing. They once entered a local swing dance competition where Doc Severson was the judge. While they came in second, Doc later told them that their style of swing dancing was more authentic than the more impressive aerials that the winning couple did. Our recipients have mathematical, logical minds, and by high school they were learning advanced dancing. A year later, they were learning challenge dancing. At that time, he developed an interest in calling and started by walking their tape group through some sequences he had written. Later, he called written sequences to tape music, then purchased a Hilton and a microphone and really started learning how to call. He started calling challenge dancing in 1981, and several years later, I received a cassette tape from his dancers. They said they thought their caller was real good, and we should see what we think. The tape was labeled Vic Ceder C4001 Winter 84. As I remember, our group thought his choreography was good, interesting, creative, clever, and we looked forward to more tapes from him. CALLERLAB's Milestone Award is our highest award. Our recipients tonight, Vic and Debbie Ceder, have unselfishly worked in an uncharted area of square dancing, and their work has had broad influence on our activity, and it has stood the test of time. I have more to say about their contributions, but first, a brief history lesson. Modern Western square dancing came into its own in the 1950s. At that time, computers cost $1 million and filled a room. Over time, computers got cheaper, were connected together on networks. By 1980, the personal computer arrived. CALLERLAB in 1983, and for several years afterwards, offered an interest session on computers explaining why you might want one and what you could do with your own computer in your square dance business. In the 1990s, with the advent of the World Wide Web, dancers, callers, and clubs started creating their own websites. For example, dosido.com was started in 1995, and CALLERLAB.org was started in 1999. Vic has a degree in mathematics and is a computer programmer. In the 1990s, he was interested in learning more about databases and building websites, especially websites whose pages are dynamic. That is, pages are created by running a computer program and not simply static text. Tell me if I'm getting too technical for you. By 1999, he had created Ceder.net, and it was open for business. The initial website had pages for tape sales, special event schedules, the beginning of a caller and cure database, a choreography database for short sequences and get-outs, lists of calls, definitions, and frequency counts. We were big on frequency counts back then. You are probably familiar with this phrase: if your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. This idea was first reported, at least what I saw in Wikipedia, by Abraham Kaplan in 1964. And what he said, he says, "I call it the law of the instrument, and it may be formulated as follows. Give a small boy a hammer, and he will find that everything he encounters needs pounding." Well, Vic is our small boy, a database is his hammer, and to Square Dancing's benefit, everything he encounters needs to be in a database with Debbie's help. Many dancers, callers, and clubs created websites, and a universal truth emerged. It's much easier to create your website than it is to maintain it, especially over years and decades. Many websites have fallen into disrepair. However, Vic and Debbie have kept Ceder.net working, up to date, organized, reorganized, and they were always adding new content. For example, when Debbie Bliss wanted to give up her wonderful website with a large collection of Square Dance articles and information, the Ceders got permission to incorporate that into their website, assuring that Debbie's work would continue to remain accessible and searchable. I expect this saving information from defunct websites has happened several times. When others have great websites with useful content, Ceder.net links to them. As the World Wide Web grew, the Cedars simply did their own thing, using their own aesthetics, and did their part in helping Square Dancing grow. Unlike most websites, Ceder.net is still around and better than ever. I expect most of you have used it, perhaps recently. In fact, how many people have gone to Ceder.net, say, in the last month? Just, yeah, well. Did it work? Let me give you some statistics to give you a sense of what they have accomplished and maintained. There's a Square Dance article co-op. Some of this is the Debbie Bliss articles. 420 articles in that. There's a caller and cure database. 1,992 callers and cures from 22 countries. There's a club database. 1,193 square and round dance clubs from 26 countries. There's a choreography database. 8,845 sequences. We're going to say a little more about that. There's an events database. 61 events are listed for 2017. It's a little discouraging because there were 197 in 2012. So I think the number of events each year has kind of been going down a little bit. There's a FAQ, a frequently asked question database, and I found 600 questions about and answers. So Vic doesn't have to answer the same thing over and over. You look in the FAQ database. And a lot of those questions relate to choreography. And you can get his opinions on, like, is it good to do crossover circulate from columns or something? I think the answer is generally not. Square Dance resources. If you want a Square Dance resource, you can go in there and look by country, state, province, find what you want. Square Dance links. All those other people have great websites, they link to them. They're organized and they're curated, which is worth something. Square Dance calls. There's 500 Square Dance calls with their own definitions, not the CALLERLAB definitions, Vic and Debbie's definitions. And they're available, while they are sold in book form, they're available online, one call at a time, for free. They've been translated into 5 other languages. I don't know, I didn't write it down. Swedish, Danish, Czech, Japanese, that's some of them. German, of course. These definitions are respected and used around the world, including perhaps, especially at the challenge levels. CALLERLAB, in fact, got permission and used their C3A definitions as our starting point when we needed to do our own definitions. And they have a record database. It has square dance music, cue sheets, and lyrics. But you know, you say record database, it's like, yeah, what's that? So I listed the record database last because I wanted to say a few more words about it. Vic and Debbie have been collecting square dance records. I expect their goal is to have one copy of each square dance record ever produced. While the records sit on shelves in their house, each is entered in the database. There's 16,945 records, representing 376 record labels in the database. 13,972 sound clips. That means, yes, they have digitized that many of their records, and they have a steady process of let's digitize some more to have every record digitized. So that means they have a digital copy of all this stuff. And their website, at least the places I looked, presents the first 30 seconds of a record. So you can hear what it sounds like in the caller and so forth. 12,479 cue sheets. So yeah, they typed in all those cue sheets. So now you want a cue sheet. Yeah, when I say they, think Debbie. And I think a newer section, 3,702 song lyrics. And when I went to caller school with Don Beck as the instructor, one of the things he told us with singing calls is you should listen to the original lyrics so you understand what the song's really about and the mood of it and so forth, and then see how the square dance version has done whatever, and that may help you present this singing call. And that's why you'd want the original lyrics. So those are there now, or starting to be there. So think of what an outstanding piece of square dance history they have captured. They can't sell or give away any of the digitized records due to copyright reasons. These sound recordings are preserved, cataloged. Basically, Vic and Debbie are their own square dance record museum. We probably didn't even know that. Two other important aspects to the website. Ceder.net allows callers and clubs to create and maintain their own entries. So you can keep your stuff up to date. You don't need to pester them, etc. And each of the database entries from one database contains links, if appropriate, to other databases, because once you start putting everything in a database, then you make them point to each other. So for example, the entry for a square dance caller shows all the events they're calling at, assuming they took the time to type in stuff to the events page, all the records they've recorded on, and all the articles they've written. And all the clubs they call at. Yeah, we'll fix this up before it's get published. Maybe there's some inaccuracies. In addition to Ceder.net, I want to tell you a little bit about Vic. Vic has created two other pieces of software which are widely used and deserve mention. The first is a square dance rotation program used by some groups to assign dancers into squares throughout a dance or a weekend. We do this a lot at Challenge, so. The square mixing methods we used to use before the programs like his were created were not as easy to use or as effective. They were often paper cards and they'd get lost and the number of dancers would change and it would know who you've danced with. His is great, and handles singles and stuff. The other program is his Ceder square dance system, which he uses to write choreography, and the computer moves the checkers. This is not unique today, but at the time, and there aren't that many programs that can do that, only 3 or 4. Catalog the choreography, so he can quickly find the appropriate next sequence he wants to call it a dance. And it checks off, well, I used this in Salt Lake City, so I won't call this sequence there again for a while. Displays the sequences while he's calling, because he's reading off the screen, perhaps. And catalogs the digital music so he can find the record he wants to do, and it plays the music. And it's all integrated into one program. And we actually heard about another program earlier on the opening on Monday morning, because having it integrated means that you prevent having all those oops moments where you hit the wrong button or you have to talk to this window when that window is controlling something. He makes this software available for a fee, and it is popular in the challenge community. We learned that Vic started calling in 1981. What I didn't say is he's self-taught. He's a dancer and a keen observer of callers as they perform. He knows and remembers what he likes and dislikes in the choreography, music, delivery, etc., and has worked to produce in his calling a product that he and Debbie would enjoy dancing to. We hope that each caller new to the challenge square dancing activity brings something new and unique, and Vic's contributions and ideas have been outstanding. He has put calls together in ways we haven't seen before, but that just make instant sense. He has embraced the field of asymmetric choreography and is probably the king of that these days. He has added new calls and concepts to our vocabulary. I would list and name them, but they just wouldn't mean anything.
Thank you.
We even wrote some together.
Yes.
Vic is not only a challenge caller, he teaches beginners lessons and calls mainstream and plus. I want to give an example of some of Vic's mainstream choreography. I found this on Ceder.net in that choreography database with 8,000 things in it. I actually found some stuff in there from Cal Campbell, because anyone here can add to the choreography database any of the zeros, equivalents, modules, stuff that you want to share with the world. So this particular one, I asked it for showing me something at mainstream that goes from zero line to a zero line. We need the choreography session of this talk, okay? So here's the choreography. We have a zero line. We want to use zoom. Pass through, wheel and deal, what do we all call next? Try again, zero lines, guys. Pass through, wheel and deal. Double pass through. This particular sequence says centers half sachet. Pass through, wheel and deal, centers half sachet. Well, that's pretty clever because we don't use half sachet hardly ever. And the flow of the wheel and deal has the couple heading into the middle feel good for the half sachet. So now they're kind of gone a little sideways. What call would feel good next? Zoom, the whole thing we're featuring. So pass through, wheel and deal, centers half sachet, zoom, and then it's center square through three, do-si-do to a wave, because you got to get the correct hand usage. Swing through, boys run, and you're back to a zero line.
I like it.
You like that?
Funny how that works.
So, I've talked about a lot of stuff, the website, the programs, blah, blah, blah. In addition to everything I've said, they're really nice people, good friends. Please enjoy me in awarding CALLERLAB's Milestone to Vic and Debbie Ceder.
I'll let Debbie hold the award here. Clark says Debbie should do all the talking, and I agree. Clark, if I had a hammer right now, you'd look like a nail. Thank you very much. You know, we did this because we love square dancing, and please keep your caller information and your club information and your events up to date, because we don't go around policing that right now. And you know, people are always looking for other people on the web. They come to us and they contact Debbie because she knows how to find people who don't keep their information up to date. So, thank you very much.
I don't know what to say. This is totally unexpected. I got a little hint about this when Clark said, you know, you really should write up something about Vic, you know, how he started calling and all the things he's done through his life. You never know when it might come in useful. I'm glad he did his own research. thank you all very much, and enjoy what we offer, and like he says, keep your information up to date, and I'll help you any way I can. I want to preserve the history of our wonderful activity. That's what we're all about.